Hey everyone, welcome to StarFact's new video. Apples, the flotation sensation. Have you ever been enjoying a nice, crisp apple and tossed the core into a bowl of water? You might have noticed something curious. It floats. This might seem strange at first. After all, apples are heavier than a feather. So, what's going on here? Why do apples float? The answer lies in a fascinating scientific principle called buoyancy. Buoyancy is the upward force that a fluid, like water, exerts on an object. Whether an object sinks or floats depends on its density, compared to the density of the fluid it's in. If the object is less dense than the fluid, it floats. Here's the thing about apples, they're full of air. In fact, about 1/4 of an apple's volume is made up of air. That's right, 1/4 of that juicy, delicious apple you're holding is actually just air pockets. These air pockets are spread throughout the apple's flesh. They're like tiny balloons hidden inside, making the apple less dense overall. Now you might be thinking, air is light, but it's not that light, is it? And you'd be right, but when you have enough of these tiny air pockets all bundled up inside the apple, they start to add up, making a big difference in the apple's overall density. Let's imagine each of those air pockets as a tiny life preserver. Each one helps the apple stay afloat by displacing a small amount of water. When you combine the buoyant force of all those tiny life preservers, the apple has enough upward force to overcome the downward force of gravity. This principle applies to many things that float, not just apples. Think about a giant cruise ship. It's made of heavy metal, but it floats because it's designed to displace a huge amount of water, creating enough buoyant force to stay afloat. The air pockets in an apple act in a similar way, just on a much smaller scale. Now let's compare an apple to something that sinks like a stone. Stones are much denser than water. They don't have those handy air pockets that apples do. So when you drop a stone in water, it sinks straight to the bottom. The downward force of gravity on the stone is much stronger than the upward force of the water trying to push it back up. The apple, on the other hand, with its trusty air pockets, is able to defy gravity and bob around on the surface. It's a floating testament to the power of buoyancy. Section 5. Gases galore, inside the apple core. Those air pockets inside an apple aren't just empty space. They're filled with various gases, including oxygen, carbon dioxide, and ethylene. These gases play a crucial role in the apple's ripening process. As an apple matures, it releases ethylene gas, which signals to the other cells in the apple to ripen. This is why one rotten apple can spoil the whole bunch. The ethylene gas it releases can speed up the ripening and eventual rotting of the apples around it. So, those air pockets aren't just helping the apple float, they're also essential for its life cycle. Section 6. From Granny Smith to Red Delicious, a buoyant bunch. Not all apples are created equal when it comes to their air content. Some varieties, like the Granny Smith with its dense, tart flesh, tend to have slightly less air than others. This means they might not float as readily as a less dense variety like a Red Delicious, which is known for its sweeter, airier flesh. However, even with these slight variations, the vast majority of apples will still float in water thanks to their air-filled composition. It's one of the things that makes apples so unique and fascinating. Section 7. Bobbing for apples, a floating tradition. The buoyancy of apples has even led to some fun traditions, like apple bobbing. This classic party game involves floating apples in a large basin of water and challenging people to try and catch them using only their teeth. The apple's ability to float makes this game possible and adds an extra layer of challenge. So the next time you're enjoying a delicious apple, take a moment to appreciate its buoyancy. It's a testament to the wonders of science and a reminder that even the simplest things can be full of surprises. Section 8. So, why do apples float? To sum it all up, apples float because they are less dense than water. They are filled with air pockets that act like tiny life preservers, giving them enough buoyancy to stay afloat. These air pockets are not only crucial for the apple's ability to float, but also play a vital role in its ripening process. From the classic Granny Smith to the sweet Red Delicious, each apple variety carries these buoyant characteristics, making them a fascinating subject of science and a delightful part of many traditions. So next time you see an apple bobbing in a bowl, you'll know exactly why it's doing that. Thanks for watching. Subscribe this channel, like, comment, and share this video.